You know, Keith, for a slogan such as trust the process, there seems to be a trustless situation going on between Joel Embiid and the 76ers, and it only gets worse. I got to tell you, Keith, I'm on Joel Embiid's side for this one. Talk about all that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use promo code Locked On NBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Keith, when we both read that dissertation, if you will, on ESPN.com a couple of weeks ago surrounding Joel Embiid, the number one takeaway was, wow, there is no trust in the process. And the process is the noun here, not the adjective, the process being Joel Embiid. And I get it. For a guy that really, if anybody in the NBA shouldn't have trust of an organization, it's Joel Embiid of the Sixers for how the organization over the years have treated him with his knee injuries and his other injuries. There's a lot of trustless situations there, unfortunately. A lot of delusion when it comes to the 76ers and getting Joel Embiid ready. Now there's a story that's out there. Actually, two reports have come out. One, Clutch Points putting this one out there. Brett Siegel, who's an NBA insider for Clutch Points. The last line of this, I think, is the key. Now, this is coming from NBA Summer League. NBA Summer League, during conversations there, they spoke to rival executives in the Eastern Conference. That's who Clutch Points caught up with. And they basically said the 76ers are regretting their decision to extend Joel Embiid's contract in 2024 when they extended going into last season. Keith, this story's out there. There's another one we'll get into as well. When you see this report, what comes to mind?
Nothing really, to be honest with you. Because it said rival executives said the Sixers are reporting, are regretting their decision. The thing when we talk about Joel Embiid in the summertime and with his knee is kind of like the gift that keeps on giving, right? Seriously, let's be honest. Like, it's one of those things. It's the summertime. It's slow. You need some stuff. And there's always something to talk about with his knee. And the thing about it is a lot of the stuff that was said about, Joel Embiid and his health and everything, these are all things that we kind of assumed. And nothing to get bad against the reporting. So I don't want anybody to say that. But it's not new. It's not surprising. Joel Embiid came out and said, you know what, I'm not going to rush back. I'll be ready when I'm ready. Tony Jones from The Athletic, while he was at Summer League, he came out with a report and said, Joel Embiid has not done any on-court workouts. He came out with that report the same day, right, a couple hours after Daryl Morey said we're very optimistic that Joel Embiid is going to come back. Well, then a couple days later, people were saying, well, Joel Embiid wasn't a full participant on court workouts. So it was one of those things where the team kind of fought back a little bit or bit back a little bit, came back and tried to get some clarification. But when we look at all this, none of this can be surprising because let's face it, the last time we saw Joel Embiid, he was benched in the fourth quarter because he couldn't move. That's the last time he played. And then he has this surgery. And then another thing is we're talking about I hate to keep repeating myself, but it was the second surgery in 14 months, the third one on that knee in 9 years, right? So now we're getting reports that, oh, well, he may not be ready. Yeah, I kind of agree. He probably won't be. And then secondly, the thing that gets me is, that they regret, giving them that contract. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Think about it. Like, come on. Like if we're going to be real, like you gave this guy a contract and now all of a sudden he's like, he was on a shelf again. And the contract doesn't even kick in until the start of next season, not this upcoming season, the following season. So yeah, they regret giving him that contract because that could be a major disaster, for the front office.
Mm-hmm. Here's where I take it a little bit differently. The fact that this stuff is coming out, this isn't just you and me and other writers saying, let's talk about Joel Embiid's knee, because we all know the story there. The new addition, although you're right, I agree, it's not surprising, but the new addition is a league executive saying, oh yeah, the Sixers have acknowledged that, like, to me, that they think it was a mistake, that they regret giving him that contract extension. Well, yeah, I think all of Philadelphia kind of feels that way as well at this point. Even if probably the most loyal fan there is to Joel Embiid probably goes, yeah, probably not the best idea. But for it to come out, even though it's through a source, it's through somebody telling the reporter, hey, by the way, I talked to the Sixers and they're regretting their decision. That is an acknowledgement that is a new, breadcrumb in this trail we're trying to fall into what the Sixers were thinking in the first place by giving him the extension. He's a player that unfortunately has a laundry list of injuries. This isn't something that's just popped up over the last 2 years where it's like, wow, this Iron Man, all of a sudden he's just getting hurt like this, but we'll trust he's more of what he was before than what he'll be for the future. That's not the case. The Sixers put even more trust in this guy for 3 more years after the current contract is up, which, as you pointed out, doesn't start till next year. And then they doubled down on it by bringing in Paul George, saying this guy will be a difference maker. He's got his own injury problems. Can't even make it through the offseason without getting a surgery late in the game. So there's new things coming out that only, unfortunately, drive you more in the direction of brace yourself for disappointment, as opposed to, hey, get ready, because this is the season where they push all the chips in the middle of the table and they're going to win big, baby. So I feel like we're getting these little drips, little drops, little breadcrumbs being dropped in our direction here when it comes to the Joel Embiid saga. And I'll also say this, no matter what, Keith, even if someone listening right now, someone watching right now was the biggest Hinkyite out there, if they were the biggest Joel Embiid loyalist out there, you got to be thinking that, aside from the disappointment, you didn't expect that when you invested your time in the process, you didn't expect that aside from following basketball, you'd also be following medical reports to which you're following them. And you'd also not be expecting to be following what has turned out to be a flat out soap opera between the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is a sign for what could occur this season. Like you said, you didn't imagine that it would be a soap opera. But the way things are right now, unless Joel comes back and he plays healthy, I mean, he plays like close to MVP type level. It's going to be one of those things that's set up to be a soap opera. But you know what? I'm not really surprised with the report. And the reason being is because when you go to Summer League, people talk. And the thing about executives will tell you more about an opposing team, what they're hearing, than they will about your team. Like, Daryl Morey, for instance, said the bubble championship, right? He talked about that, but, he didn't talk about the Houston Rockets. He didn't talk about, anything else like that. But so people will tell you that. But at the same time, when he had that interview with ESPN, and I know some people took what I said out of context about retirement. But when I read that article, man, again, it came to me like Joel knows that the end might be near. Like when you come out and you say the things like that. So when you read stuff like this, it's kind of like, okay. Now, again, it's one of those things where I will say this, when it's slow in the summertime and there's really not a lot going on, there are always reports coming out. Some things you got to verify later, or you got to figure out or if it's true or not. But I will say that nothing that was said just because of the injury history, just because of the ESPN article, just because common sense would tell you that, they would be upset that they gave them all that money, being as though that they could lose their job, right? It makes sense. The report really makes sense. But it's also one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see. I honestly believe in regards to Joel Embiid returning, the only person who knows 100% is Joel Embiid, right? I honestly believe that, So what they said, Tony Jones wrote from The Athletic, said that he has not been on the court. Sixers came back and said full participant. But at the same time, when you see videos of people working out at the gym, you don't see Joel. You just don't. So it is in common. And like I know, unless Joel says, you better not put this photo of me. A photo of Joel on the team website getting up shots would basically make the Sixers fans so happy, and it will calm down the panic. So, unless he said, you better not, deep down inside, they would be putting that stuff out all the time. Anything of him all the time in the facility, and we haven't seen any.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it would definitely give me the warm and fuzzies going forward in this offseason. Hey, speaking of other things to talk about here, there's another report that's also out there regarding Joel Embiid. This is on the heels of the report there by Clutch Points. Also, by the way, following the lack of the ability for the Sixers to get Joel Embiid on the court in the offseason. And let me just say this before we go to our first break. Let me just say this. I'm on Joel Embiid's side for all this. All the dysfunction leading up to this year, I wouldn't trust the Sixers. I wouldn't rush back for anything. Like if you put yourself in the shoes of Joel Embiid right now, those huge shoes of Joel Embiid, would you rush back for an organization that has mismanaged injuries in the past and now brought you to this point and maybe had those broken promises? Because the number one thing I took away from that ESPN article on Joel Embiid was, wow, there really is no trust when trust was being asked of Sixers fans for so many years. Even now, there's literally no trust. And now this report by Clutch Points puts it out there saying that the 76ers regret the extension. First off, yeah, I would too. But on the other part of it, I don't fault Joel Embiid one bit for taking his sweet-ass time when it comes to this particular injury, this particular surgery, and trying to get back faster than the schedule is saying he should. So I will say that when it comes to the defense of Joel Embiid in all of this. But Keith, when we get back, I got to get your take on this one because it has to do more so not just with regret, but also the way the contract extension came about, the chronology of it, who came to whom. We'll talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Right now, let me tell you about 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends over the summer on the golf course, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Maybe you're like me, you really don't make plans to play golf, but you usually at the last minute to call, hey, we need a fourth in our foursome. Can you come out? Absolutely. Throw back a 5 Hour Energy Transfusion, and I'm good to go. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor that gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage cart. How about this? If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com, you can use our promo code LOCKEDONGOLF. That's LOCKEDONGOLF for a promo code to receive 20% off your order. The offer is valid until September 30th, and one order cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36. Getting the energy boost you need to power through with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today at 5hourenergy.com with promo code LOCKEDONGOLF. So, Keith, this report comes out here regarding Joel Embiid and the trust and the Sixers regretting signing him to that deal. And then I hear Mike Missinelli on 97.5 The Fanatic. The clip went viral. It's out there, him talking about this, where he spoke to someone who's, quote, plugged in. That's the word he used. And said that the 76ers were actually the ones that went to Joel Embiid about the contract extension. And Joel Embiid was somewhat shocked that the Sixers came to him for a contract extension, given his injury history. What do you make of that story, and what's your take on it? Oh, geez. That's totally my fault. I knew. For the people on the podcast, I totally didn't bring Keith back after the commercial.
Yeah, he doesn't like me, y'all. He doesn't like me.
Get out of here.
Oh, you're rock on here. Nah, here's the thing. I mean, you know what?
Sorry
Mike
about
is
that, brother.
Mike is connected, well connected. Mm-hmm. He knows people. Now, I will say this. I remember when Joel was just dominating, and he was like, putting up the 70 points and doing this. And I know there was a point where he messed up his knee and this and that. But it was early on. And I remember I was sitting in the Wells Fargo Center cafeteria before the game, eating some food. And someone said to me, hey, Joel wants to get an extension. He's up to get an extension. He can sign the extension this year. So I'm kind of like, huh? He really wants to get an extension? I was like, yeah. But again, that was before, like, he was shut down for the season. You know what I mean? This was a point where his knee was bothering him, but then he was getting ready to come back, and he came back, and things like that. So it was actually before the Indianapolis game, but he was still being hampered a little bit. So, you hear that and you say to yourself, and you're like, okay. But then all of a sudden, after, he was done for 39 games and he missed a lot. Yeah, I can see where Mikey Miss comes out and somebody would tell him, like, yeah, he's shocked. Because at that particular point, you're looking at it as if you're like saying, well, I guess they're going to do a wait and see before they do it. Give it to me. But see, there's always like a devil's advocate with things too, as well. Like if you're the 76ers, you're gambling, and they messed up. I mean, they were on the blackjack table and lost their house, right? But they were gambling. So here's the thing. Basically, you look at it and you say to yourself, if Joel has a dynamite season, and if he waits to get an extension and he has a dynamite season, or whatever, we're going to be on the hook for a lot of money. So let's lock them up now. And then that way it's not as bad. The problem is you gamble and you lost all your loot on the blackjack table. Lost the house. The wife is about to divorce you now. The Maserati is gone, the Ferrari is gone, everything is gone. Right? You even lost the guest home. Right? So the house on the shore, the summer retreat, gone. But anyway, so to me, yeah, it is shocking. But when you look at it, you say to yourself, like, okay, they gambled and they made a mistake. Like, whereas they're thinking that they're probably going to save the owner money in the long run, because let's face it, he's going to be older, right? You maybe if he wants another one, you're going to give him a smaller deal or something like that. But I'm talking about like at the back end, right? But yeah, they gambled and it was bad. It was bad. So I can understand where Joel was shocked, like, oh, y'all really want to sign this? And the thing is, in the past, Joel, because of his injury history, there were certain things that he had to achieve, like incentives in this contract. From what I'm hearing, like this one was a straight up contract. It was like, yo, let's just give it to him. This is giving him money. But the worst part is, if all that is true too, you remember there was a rumor floating around, and Daryl Morey never answered the question because I asked him about it too. There was a rumor floating around that Daryl Morey had to talk Josh Harris into giving him the contract as well. So it must have been a shock to everyone then.
No. And what did he say when asked about that?
What he said was he said we all knew about it, but then he also he said we all knew about it. There's some things out there that's not true, this and that. We all agreed. But I noticed something, like whenever executives, a lot of them, they always say we. right? You know what I mean? If it's good or if it's bad, they're always saying we. But then I also asked them, I said, why did you give him this money 2 years ahead of time, basically, right? You know, a year ahead before you do it. And he said, because we have Paul George locked up. I'm paraphrasing. We have Paul George locked up, and Paul George would want some insurance to know that Joel Embiid is going to be here during his throughout his time. So basically, they didn't want to sign Paul George. Then Embiid, leaves and goes in free agency, and George is looking around like, man, y'all can't make me come here. Now Embiid left, so they signed Embiid so George would be happy, knowing that Embiid would be here.
No matter, I get that, but that still doesn't make sense to me, because you would still, at least with signing George, have Embiid for at least 2 seasons, and then we'll most likely sign him too. And then does Paul George still want more money tied up in Joel Embiid if Paul George is still going to be here, where they could spend that money and trying to win with somebody else, maybe spending otherwise or elsewhere in free agency? There's really no angle to this where it makes sense, other than it felt like almost a panic move that they had to give Joel Embiid that contract. By the way, in September of last year, which was after the Olympics, which was before you knew he wasn't going to be ready for the start of the season, and also the laundry list of injuries that he's already had. Like this, I mean, I've talked before. We talked about that word dysfunction. I think, and you were right. Between Joel Embiid and the organization, there's absolutely still dysfunction. There was a boatload of dysfunction over the past, several years with Joel Embiid and his injury history and all that. But the other word I'll use here, and it's another dis word, is just, or should be duh word. It's a delusion. They're delusional. I feel like the 76ers right now are delusional to think that they can continue to bet on these horses and the outcome's going to change, where it's just going to continue to be this soap opera. We're all getting our online medical degrees from following the injuries with Joel Embiid and Paul George at this point. So, for Sixers fan, I would love to be able to give some hope here, but it's the same old song and dance. And the fact that neither party trusts each other, from Joel Embiid to the organization, just makes it feel like it's going to have everything else drag out. And if there really is any semblance of hope, I think it comes down to this. One, Joel Embiid does take his sweet time in getting back this year. And when he does step back on the basketball court, he's 100% and maybe plays at a great level again. Maybe not MVP, but still a great level, at least an all-star level. Maybe that's the way this plays out. And then going into next year, he feels even better with his body and maybe has that one more good year left in him, including building more team chemistry with the guys around him. That's the only hope I can really see right now for the 76ers, granted the distrust that's there now. And if Joel Embiid doesn't play much, then, as you've said before, Keith, I think they turn the page when it comes to who's in that front office, and maybe he'll have a different relationship with the next general manager of player or president of basketball ops.
Yeah, but I think the next general manager of player basketball ops is going to, Maxey might be here. Like, it depends. Like, because you're going to have to, you're going, but unfortunately you can't. But that's the thing. Do you think that this is a good job? Think about it.
No.
If Joel Embiid does not come back and play to the level that you just talked about, and then you have Paul George not playing well, it's going to have to be a lot of money, man, for me to come here and try to turn this thing around, because you're not going to be able to turn it around for at least a couple of years. You're just not, And we're talking about a contract that doesn't kick in until 2026, 27.
Yes, $193 million.
Yep, that's what we're talking about. So, and we'll see. And then what the report also said that, it doesn't expect Paul George to be ready for the start of training camp either.
Yes.
So how is this different from last year? Well, George started at the beginning of training camp, but towards how is this different from the end of last season? Well, right. Maxey's playing. That's the difference.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's the only way I'm keeping from either going full rage mode, Keith, or crying. But I'm just thinking of like, what's the sales pitch for the next general manager for the 76ers? It's like, okay, do you like Tyrese Maxey? I like Tyrese Maxey. I got a lot of respect for Maxey. He's great. It's like, okay, do you like American history? Because we got the Liberty Bell, we got Independence Hall. Like what's the sales pitch? Oh, what about Joel Embiid? He's still here and all that money. Yeah, don't even worry about that. But do you like cheesesteaks? Trying to sell somebody on coming to Philadelphia to play for the Sixers. A little bit of new arena. You can throw that new arena thing in there. That'd be fun. It's a tough sell, Keith. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's a tough sell right now.
I mean, and the crazy part is you do have young stars or young up-and-coming players like VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain. Now, granted, they'll have some money that will come off the books, next year, and Kelly Oubre and Drummond, but that's not a lot of money. That's not like a lot of money.
Like
we're going to go out here and then you like them, but the thing is, at this particular point, it's just anything that could come off the books is a win-win for you. It is, because you're saving money, but because these guys have these exorbitant contracts, the three of them, and I don't want to include Maxey because his money isn't like their money. Now he got a max extension.
Right.
Rookie max extension, but we're talking about in the 30s where these guys are making 50, and then for Embiid is only going to go up. So and like Phil said, Oubre's making $8 million, saving what? You're right. You're saving a little bit of money, but at the same time, that's $8 million that's coming off the books. But then when you add Drummond, that's $5 million, right? So that's $13 million, and then Eric Gordon, that's $3 million.
Gordon,
16,
Lowry.
You know what I mean? Lowry, another $3 million. What's that? 19. So that's about it. That's about it. And, so that's the problem. That's the problem right now. But you have young talent, but those two contracts are killing them. Now, again, the thing about Joel, no one knows but Joel. He could come back and he could play at a high level, but you're getting all these reports, and he said what he said, and we look at the injury history, and you can see where everybody is like doom and gloom. You can just see it. You can understand where it's coming from.
All right, when we come back, our latest installment, Keith, we'll take some comments as well, but our latest installment of Grimes Watch, a riveting segment we have started here on Locked On 76ers. We'll get into that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Now, let me tell you about Monarch Money. You guys taking advantage of Monarch Money? You ever wish the managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can be, whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase. Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat with your finances. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is so much more than a budgeting app, though, folks. It's a complete financial command center, and it helps you track accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So let's say you're saving for college, for the kids. Let's say you're saving for a big vacation, a brand new car, or even combining your finances with your significant other. You just got married, just moved in with one another, whatever it might be. Monarch Money can help you out. Once again, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year with promo code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year at monarchmoney.com. And just like that, we're back. For the people just listening on the podcast, Keith is just reading a book right now, waiting patiently for me to actually bring him back. Unlike my failure after the first break. What are you reading, brother?
Is the best American sports writers.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's a pretty good book. Yeah, but no, I'm reading my book because I'm waiting for. What's his name again? Quentin Grimes to sign with the.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I am waiting patiently for Quentin Grimes to sign with the.
I love we're doing bits now. This is great. Okay, now,
no, he hasn't signed yet, folks.
All right, Keith. Now, this is NBA August. Now it's NBA August. You and I are doing bits. Now it's NBA August.
It is.
Yes. Here's the question. I wish I had a drum roll sound effect. Is Quentin Grimes re-signed yet?
Nah. I'm on chapter 12, by the way. Nah, not yet. No.
Oh man. I know it might sound like at times we script the show, but we don't. This is all improv, babe. This is all improv. Let's get a couple things in here. Reggie, what's going on? Oubre is an asset. Extend him. See, Reggie and I think are presidents of the Kelly Oubre fan club here, Keith. I wouldn't mind seeing Kelly Oubre come back to the 76ers, especially if it's on a decent deal. Do you think they'd possibly work out an extension for him?
Probably not. And the reason why I'm saying that, and I like Elliott. No, they could. I like them a lot. I do. Reggie, I'm with you with Kelly Oubre. But when I'm looking at the 76ers right now with the front office, we don't even know who's going to be here past next season, right?
Yeah.
And then we also look at it where let's just say if Quentin Grimes does sign, and then all of a sudden the 76ers say, you know what, we want to go to a 3-guard offense, right? And then you look at it, and Kelly Oubre is a good player, but what about VJ Edgecombe, right? So my question is, why you extend him? We still got these other 2 guys on the books, but then you know that VJ Edgecombe in a couple of years, I know that's a long time, but at the same time, you're looking at him, and you may, if he takes that leap that you want him to take, then all of a sudden he might take some of those Kelly Oubre minutes. He may, right? So with that being said, I don't know if I would extend them. And if I'm the owner, it's kind of like, I don't know who I want to extend them. Like, is it going to be Daryl Morey, or is it going to be the next person? You know what I mean? I think there's too much uncertainty right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. Here's Edward saying, how many Embiid stories can they do? I think that's supposed to be they do. Edward, I like Joel Embiid and Jalen Hurts, Bryce Harper, in a lot of these instances, mostly Jalen Hurts and Joel Embiid. If stories come out about them that add a wrinkle to a story that's already known, it's going to get discussed. It's going to get talked about. These are going to be like Jalen Hurts and Joel Embiid are probably going to be the 2 most talked about athletes in Philadelphia for the foreseeable future. So anytime a new development comes out or a new take, a report, it's going to get discussed. Like, look at the offseason in the NFL when Jalen Hurts gets listed as like number 6 or 7 on somebody's list and pandemonium breaks out. It's similar, except this story has NBA executives actually talking about it. Crazy. What's up, Crazy? I think Joel Embiid doesn't play again. I think he plays. I don't think he plays a lot, but I think he plays. Would you agree with that?
Plays. I think he has too much money invested to not play. You know what I mean? Unless, I think he plays. But again, to what level? Mm-hmm. That's the major question. But I think he plays.
Me too. Deal saying, what's everyone's starting rotation? This is something we've talked about before briefly, but until we know what the deal is with Quentin Grimes, it feels silly to start put the rotation out there right now. Well, how do you feel?
I mean, I can just gamble and say if Quentin Grimes, I can have 2 rotations. Well, yeah. Well, you raised a good point. So this is what I have if Grimes comes back. But the main thing is how healthy the other guy's going to be. That's the wild card. But to me, if Grimes is healthy and the other 2 guys come back, I'm talking about PG and Joel. I'm going with Tyrese Maxey, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. Right.
All right.
Outside of that, man, it's like, woo, it's crazy. So to me, if not, that's where it gets tough, because let's say I will have Kelly Oubre. Like, who do you take out and put? If Grimes doesn't come back, who do you put in his place? So, is it VJ Edgecombe? I mean, maybe. It could be, right? It could be.
Yeah, it could be. Or McCain.
It could be. Or McCain. The only and I know Tyrese and McCain don't really like hearing this, especially from me. But I just look at those as 2'6" guards.
Right.
You know, it's hard to defend, man. It is. I mean, and everybody will say, well, look at Cleveland. Yeah, we saw them in the playoffs too.
Right.
We saw what Cleveland did defensively in the playoffs with those two guards. So
we didn't see him for long, but we saw him in the playoffs. I said we didn't see him for long.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers. We're going to be turning over every rock, looking under every rock, leaving no stone unturned. That's what I'm looking for there. His name is Keith Pompey. Make sure you guys are following him on all social media outlets. Make sure you guys are reading them on Inquirer.com. My name is Marc Farzetta. I'll be back with you guys. For you Eagles fans, no Locked On Eagles today. We're going to move that to tomorrow. We got Thursday, the first preseason game. Phillies fans, I got you for your postcast needs tonight. Phillies with a big 13-3 win over the Baltimore Orioles. Kyle Schwarber with a grand slam as his 40th home run of the season. We'll be breaking down the postcast today. I'll be breaking it down with you on Locked On Phillies YouTube channel, so make sure you guys like and subscribe there as well. But as for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. And also, thank you for making this your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure you guys check out Locked On NBA Podcast, where there is no off season. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Keith Pompey, I'm Marc Farzetta. Like and subscribe Locked On 76ers. Back with you guys tomorrow. See you then.